Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the British Tier 8 Premium Medium Tank, the Atomic Centurion. Now this is a tank you can get at level 100 for free from the new Season Pass, the First Strike Season Pass, which isn't the best Season Pass in the universe, but you get this tank for free, so I thought I'd tell you all about it. And it's a tank, I think it was the second premium tank that was a Centurion, and that was after the Huntsman, which is just basically a Centurion Mark 1 tech tree tank, but worse. And then they released this like a month or two later, which is just way better. And honestly, it's a very, very good premium tank for a Centurion. I think it's the second, but it's all personal preference on that point. I think it's the second best Centurion premium, and that is behind the Centurion Mark 5-1. And that's because this just takes the Atomic to a whole other level, generally. But there is one thing that the Atomic actually has, which is special, and that is the silver earn rate. So this tank is a very, very good silver earner. Very, very good. It earns silver at 165%, whereas you look at the Centurion Mark 5-1, 150%, the Huntsman, 155%, the STRV 81 is 160%. So it's the best. It's actually one of the best silver trainers in the game, and it was before the Crimson Steel tanks. Obviously, the Crimson Steel tanks with their 175% bonus are way better, but this tank is damn good, and everyone's going to get this for free, and they're all going to get a very good silver earner, so that's okay. And on the whole, it's a pretty decent medium tank. I do enjoy this tank, but like I say, the only thing that overshadows it for me is the fact that the Centurion Mark 5-1 is everything that the Atomic is, but better, except for the rate of fire. So, let's go to the stats. It's got 226 millimeters of penetration on its AP rounds. It's got 258 millimeters of penetration on its APCR rounds. It's got 230 damage instead of the 240 generally that you get on 90 mils, because this is like an 80. Because it's a 20 pounder. I think it's like an 84mm gun or 85, something like that. It's a random caliber, but yeah, it's a 20 pounder type B barrel you get on this one. And it's got 1450 hit points, which is a good slug of hit points. It's around, I think that's a little bit more than the standard Tier 8 medium tanks. I think they generally get like 13 to 1400. So 1450, sorry, is a decent amount. 50 kilometers an hour top speed is nice. It's, you know, I mean, to be honest, I think that's a pretty mediocre top speed for a medium tank, but at the same time, there's a lot of tanks at the tier that do have that top speed, and it does get up to it decently quickly. 390 meters view range, which is worse than a lot of the other Centurion premiums. It does have that lack of that 10-meter view range that most of the others have. You do feel it at times. Sometimes you don't spot things that you probably wouldn't all the others. That can be a pain. It's got 21% still concealment, which is pretty good actually for a medium tank, to be honest. That's especially as big as the Centurion, so it's not too bad. Let's have a look at this. So this is where the tank shines. 8.57 rounds a minute rate of fire. The rate of fire is very quick, and it's very, very nice. And you compare that, this is where it beats a lot of the other tanks, because it's got 8.57 rounds a minute rate of fire. If you were to look at the Centurion Mark 5-1, it's got 8 rounds a minute. The Huntsman Centurion's got that abysmal 7.5 rounds a minute, the old school rate of fire, same as the Centurion Mark 1. And then you've got the STRV 81 as well, which, yes, it's an 84mm, which is the Swedish Centurion. That has 8 rounds a minute. So it's better than all of them in that regard. So it's the best in class for its rate of fire in terms of the Centurions. And yeah, it's not too bad. You can sort of, it's one of those that if you catch someone out, you're going to do a lot of damage to them very quickly. And it's kind of like blinking, you'll miss, all your health is gone. 2.3 second aim time is very average, to be honest. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. You do feel like you're taking an age sometimes to aim, but for the most part, it's not that bad. The 0.35 accuracy is, yeah, it's a thing. And I believe this has not that great soft stats, really, because it tends to bloom quite a lot, and the .35 accuracy. I mean, pre 6.0, it never felt like 3.35 accuracy. It always missed a lot of shots, and it was really annoying. And this is one bit where the tank sort of lets itself down a little bit because it's .35 accuracy, but you were to look at the Mark 5.1, .33, the Huntsman Centurion .33, STRV-81 is .33, and it's .33 on the standard Centurion as well. So that is one thing that is worse. And like I say, you do tend to miss the odd shot. Post 6.0, it's not as bad as it was. You do feel it, even with the crew skills, you do feel it miss a couple of shots that you're sitting there going, how? Why? Existential crisis moment. So, yeah. It's one thing that does let it down. But, it's not like .38 accuracy. It's not bad. So, bear that in mind. It's pretty decent. 10 degrees of gun depression is always delightful, always great. Add that with the 254mm of turret front armour, which is fantastic. You get hull down on the ridgeline, you're going to be bouncing a lot of shots. So you see here is the standard Centurion Mark 1, which has the same turret as the Atomic, because obviously PC doesn't have the Atomic, so it's not on Tanks GG. And you see, look, just how effective this turret is. That's an auto ricochet angle on the top. You just got to watch out for the odd shot that might hit the cupola. But you go hull down, and you use that full 10 degrees of gun depression. And as long as they're not... Basically, as long as you're not sitting still, and they're not catching these cheeks, you should be great. You should be bouncing up and down on the ridge line, making it as hard as possible for these guys to hit you, and you will ricochet a lot of shots. And you're just seeing how effective it is, especially with the gunman. There are armour holes at times as well, which can be annoying, but like I said, just keep bouncing up and down the ridge line, you'll be fine. And as well as that, the Centurion can side scrape. At times, you'll see it in some of the replays. You can side scrape in it. Don't always try it. It depends on what you're facing as well. But for the most part, it can do it quite well. 34 degrees a second traverse speed on the turret is a little bit slow compared to its 36 degrees a second on the tracks, which sometimes can catch you out with the Centurions. That your turret traverse is worse than your tracks, so sometimes you can out traverse it. So just be wary of that. Like I say, 390 meters view range. Yeah, it's not as good as some of the others. It's got 750 horsepower. So 16.68 horsepower per ton. Now, this isn't the worst out of all of them, and it means you can reach that 50 km/h top speed. You do feel a little bit more sluggish compared to something like the Centurion Mark 5.1. Now, the Centurion Mark 5.1, and you might be going, well, why do you think this is better then? Because obviously it's got a worse traverse speed on its chassis. It's got the same on its turret. Well, because it gets a better engine. You get 18.63 horsepower per ton. It does zoom to that. It's a really mobile Centurion. It has only a slightly worse rate of fire. It has better accuracy, it's got better accuracy, not better aim time, better accuracy. It's got better view range. It's also got a better upper plate. And you might be going, what? I thought it was just a standard Centurion, but like they just made it like a historical one or something. No, the Centurion Mark 5.1 legitimately has 120mm upper plate. This upper plate is so much better than the others, and it means when you get hull down, it's way better. And it also means that you can bounce a lot of shots from a lot of tanks that are lower tier than you as well, and that makes it really good. So that's why I think the Centurion Mark 5.1 is actually better than than the Atomic. Whereas like the Huntsman falls down on everything. You see, the Huntsman's got 14.46 horsepower per ton, which is just tragic. It may have better traverse speed, but that horsepower is just tragic. It's pretty horrible. I mean, it's got 17.72 on this STRV-81 with 900 horsepower, and like I say, you're seeing with the Centurion Mark 5.1 with 950. This is probably middle of the pack for its mobility compared to the Huntsman, which is bottom of the pack. But, you know, it's not that bad. You can reach these speeds decently. But yeah, the Centurion Atomic, or the Atomic Centurion, we'll get that right. It's not a bad tank, and it's one that I think people will enjoy. If you enjoy the Centurion Mark 1 or you enjoy any of the other Centurions, you'll enjoy this tank. It's a pretty solid tank. Like I said, that rate of fire is insane. The amount of silver you earn in general is just great. It's a fantastic silver earner. And yeah, I will now send you all over to the garage where we can see what the effective stats are for the tank and see what the commander loadout is for it also. So here we are in the garage with the Atomic Centurion, and yeah, it's a very good looking tank. It's got that historical gun mantlet because obviously it's taken off of the tank that they used for nuclear testing, so it's just rusted and stuff. And it's a pretty damn decent looking tank. I like the look of it. It's just a Centurion at the end of the day, isn't it? But it's got that sort of nice model to it. Generally, I like it. It's a nice tank. And also, you'll be noticing the garage is different. That's because we're in 7.0 now, and we've got different garages depending on the camos, the seasons. So you got the winter one, the jungle one, the desert one, and the urban one. I thought I'd just go over that quickly while we're here. So let's have a look what we use. So in terms of the equipment, I run rammer because making that DPM better is always great. Vert stabs, I run the gun stabilizer because that 0.35 accuracy is, well, 0.35 accuracy, it does derp a lot, and just having that extra 20% on its accuracy is very, very nice to have, and it's well worth using. And optics to make the view range better. Like I say, it's got worse view range than the other Centurions by 10 meters, and that extra 10% helps a bunch. And you want to be running coated optics on. I mean, to be fair, you want to be running coated optics on most medium tanks as well, because yeah, a lot of them want to be spotting out as helping out with the assists and stuff like that. And this is a particularly aggressive medium tank, as the Centurions are. You don't really want to be backlining behind bushes. This is one where you want to get up on a ridge line, in people's faces, attacking, using the good DPM. So, as you see, it's like 0.25 accuracy, which is very nice. That's my ammo loadout for the people that want to know. 40, 32. The HE rounds aren't as good, generally. I've noticed that the HE rounds can be useful against very lightly armoured targets, but with the 42 pen, they're just not that great, even against a lot of artillery, especially at the tier you get, where you're getting like the British ones that are getting more armour and stuff like that, and the Russian ones. Yeah. So let's have a look at the module viewer, which is a new feature. We've got the detailed statistics here. All you've got to do is go to module viewer, press Y, and you get this panel here. And as you'll see with this now, we can actually see in game, finally. Shell max speed, it's in the middle of the middle row, bottom. You've got shell max speed. We've got 1,020 meters shell velocity on the AP and 1,275 meters a second on the APCR, which is very nice. That's generally pretty good. Like, when you're going below 1,000, it's pretty horrible generally, but you know, that's really nice. You see with the view range, we've got it up to 454 with the coated optics, and I believe situational awareness has impacted that too. But skills like Born Leader and stuff like that don't actually affect these stats, which is weird, but hey ho, hopefully they'll add that in the future. The reload time in the bottom left hand corner of this panel, 5.67 seconds is what we've got it down to. That is really nice. You boost that even more with food, you're getting closer to like 5 seconds base reload. It's really good. Like I say, the rate of fire on this tank is one of its key features. It's very, very good. It's very, very nice. And it's generally a nice tank. So let's have a look at the commander I ran as well. Because I play this aggressively, there's a lot of ways I could run this, but I do play this very aggressively. So I run Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Trap Mechanic, Steady Aim, Situational Awareness, Sixth Sense, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Armour Angling. So I run the gun perks to make the gun as good as possible. I run Situational Awareness, obviously, to boost the view range as much as possible. Sixth Sense, because it's always a vital thing to have. Rapid Loading, making your DPM better. Trap Mechanic, obviously, you want to get your tracks back up as quickly as possible. You might have just burnt your repair kit and then you get tracked again. You don't want to end up being perma-tracked. It's not something you want. So Trap Mechanic is what I run on that. And then Born Leader to increase your skills by 10%. I'd run Armour Angling. This is one of those final slots that you could run quite a lot of different things. You could decide to run one of the ground resistance ones to make it so that this tank sort of traverses a little bit quicker. You could make it so that the turret turns quicker. So like I was saying, the turret turns slower than the actual hull traverses. So you might want to buff that up with Rapid Aim and make it so that they turn about the same time. You might want to run camo, because it has decent camo for such a large tank, and you might think, oh, you know, in a bushy scenario, I might want to stay unspotted for a little bit longer. Well, you could run that. I ran the armor angling, or obviously the firefighting perks as well, if you don't run fire and you get annoyed at getting set on fire like myself, but I've stopped doing that a little bit more on tanks now. I try and diversify my perks. But yeah, I play aggressively anyway in the Centurion. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to run armor angling. 5% decrease to damage received. It means I might get one or two more shots out if I'm taking lots of hits. And yeah, you do notice it at times when someone's got like 400 alpha and they hit you for about 380 or less, way less than that. You do notice that decrease at times, and you're thinking, I should have died there. No, I didn't. Okay, you know, and it can be helpful. But yeah, I say I play aggressively. That's why I run that. But for the other reasons I've said, you could run any of the other perks. So, as always, everybody, I will send you over to the gameplay bit, and then you'll be able to make your own minds up just watching the gameplay, and you'll be able to go, that guy's talking a load of tosh, this tank looks terrible, or it looks really sluggish and slow, what was he on about, and stuff like that. Or you can think, oh, this guy's right, this tank looks great. I'll let you decide that by just watching the gameplay, and I'll see you there. So here we are in the gameplay with the Atomic Centurion, and we're on Himmelsdorf. We're in a pretty much very tier 8 game. There's a couple of tier 7s, there's one little tier 6. That poor Jagdpanzer 4 in this game. That's when matchmaking likes to laugh at you, right? That Jagdpanzer 4, he is the only tier 6 in the entire game. That poor guy. And he's on Himmelsdorf as well, which is not the best for him. But anyway, we're in the Atomic, and obviously you're seeing that the mobility of it isn't too bad. You know, we're zoom in a Centurion tank. And you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to go up on top of the hill. And that's because, obviously, with the Centurion, I've got a very good turret and very good hull down. And as well as that, it's got very good rate of fire. So, you know what? I'll take it up on top of the hill. We'll see what we can get involved in. And I can get hull down on the hull. That's on the hill. That's the one. Yeah, I can get hull down on the hill. Because we've got all these ridge lines here that I can go sit on. Whereas obviously on the flat down below, it's a little bit more awkward for a Centurion. It's not a very, you know, it's a very easy tank to hit. It's a very big tank, so it's not like you're going to be dodging all the shots. It is one that if people are aiming at you, you're probably going to pen it. And well, that's when it's caught out anyway. And when we are hull down, we're just beastly, generally. It's great. Which is something, obviously, that the Centurion Mark 5 one is a little bit better at, because if it's caught out, people still do struggle to pen it, because the upper plate can ricochet stuff, and if it's caught at an extreme angle, then you'll ricochet shots. So we're on the hill, and I do have friends. I've got 2 heavy tanks coming up. They've taken the hill pretty aggressively, and we're just going to start putting this gun to work. So we get a nice shot into the upper plate of the Type 59-2. My ISM is throwing his health away, which is not something I needed. I need this guy alive. I'm kind of like, no ISM, please, why? But you know what? While they're all distracted with getting rid of him, we needed to get rid of that T-77, because the T-77 obviously is a danger, because it will just drop its clip into anyone and it'll do over 1,000 damage in 6 seconds, which is not what we want. And now it's just me and this heavy tank fighting off the hill. There's 3 guys on here. We're trying to just keep the gun firing. We want to keep damaging them as much as possible. We get a nice track into the projectile. I'm kind of hoping my friend will get some shots into him. We can perma-track people in the Atomic because the rate of fire is just that good. We do actually have a stockade, which again is very nice, because that stockade obviously does nearly 1,200 damage in its clip. So if I manage to keep them distracted, keep them from firing at him, and he gets his reload in, he'll be able to just delete one of these tanks. But obviously now that guy's reloading, so I've got to take the flak here, and I've got the attention of 3 separate tanks. So what I'm trying to do is actually focus this Type 59-2. And I'm focusing him because he's got all the alpha damage. This T-34-1 obviously is firing very quickly, and he's penning me most times. But he's also got low alpha, same as the VK3002D. So I wanted to get rid of the King Dragon, or the Type 59-2, sorry. Because if he decided to just drive around and shoot me, he was going to take 400 hit points off me, which is not what we wanted. And we managed to just about hold out against those guys on the hill. while my stockade reloaded, and the stockade drove round and finished them off, which is nice. But now we're coming off of the hill. We've got this T-43 that's spotted down here. We're going to shoot on the move. Of course, it ends up hitting in the side and just being absorbed in his tracks. We're going to make sure that that one goes in. Wiggle a bit so that in the hope that he doesn't pen us, but he does. He could have finished us there with his 180 alpha, but he doesn't. Actually, I might be wrong. It might only have 150, but he could have finished us there if we'd been a little bit more unlucky. But we did finish off the T-43, looking for shots at the 50 TP when we came down the hill, because I didn't really want to charge down to this bit over here, because obviously I'm a one-shot, and I didn't want to risk, really, if I had to, driving out in front of him. But he's the only one alive, and really the only option to get some shots into this guy is to drive around. So I'm just looking around the corner to see where he's looking. He actually shoots the VK in front of me. We get a nice shot into his side, and now he has pulled back around the corner. So we're going to get another shot into his lower plate, and yeah, he is just not looking at us, which is nice. We get another shot through his lower plate. I think he's just fired, so it's like, oh well, I'll just drive around the corner, aim my shot and fire, and we do get that extra pen in. And we finished that game with a very nice game for the Atomic. It showed what it can do when it's harassed, and that is 2 kills, 4.4k damage, ace tanker, sniper, high caliber, and 1919 base XP. And yeah, it really showed what this tank can do when it's harassed. Like, that action we had on the top of the hill there was a bit hectic. There was a lot of people in front of us. If we were in something like the Huntsman, we might not have done as well, because the rate of fire was, you know, an extra second or two off of what that is. And yeah, you would have pretty much struggled a little bit more generally, and you wouldn't have really hit the top of the hill as quickly either. So we got to the position on top of the hill a lot quicker than, say, something like the Huntsman Centurion. But if we were in a Bellerophon, we probably would have done just as well. We probably would have also bounced quite a few more shells from things like the VK3000 and 2D that was stock, and the T-34-1 too, or the T-34-1. But yeah, so we're on port, and I have come to this fairly aggressive position here, which is one that I do tend to go to, because you can spot out along the EF line, and by doing that you can sometimes pick up assistance, but you also get some nice shots across this area here. We get a nice shot into the drive wheel of the T-29, we track him in place, and like I say, we can perma-track people, so that's just what we're going to aim for. But he actually repairs, gets going, and unfortunately we couldn't keep farming that guy, which it was something I was expecting him to do straight away, because we're at the start of the game. He should have his repair kit right, but he sort of sat there and took the 2 hits. Now he's drove out to try and get a shot into us. He ricochets off our turret, because what I've done is actually pulled all the way back, so that all they really had to shoot at was the turret. We're looking for a thin shot at his upper plate or lower plate. Unfortunately, we can't quite get it. And I'm just looking for shots. He exposes the side of his turret. We get a nice shot straight through the side of his turret and finish him off. Now this Lerva, we aim for a shot through his side, his drive wheel. We get it in, and he repairs and pulls back. So we're not getting another shot into him either, which is sad. But now I've noticed there's heavy tanks, there's medium tanks directly behind us. I want to kind of try and help them out. But I'm also, just before I poke around the corner, I actually get spotted there, which is... yeah, which made me think I might be able to get shots at those guys, but I've got to help my friends behind me, because obviously these guys could come up behind me, shoot me, and hurt me in many ways. We get some nice shots into the KV-3. We'll try and shoot the Vanguard there as it approached and went past, but we don't quite get it. I'm going to ignore the guys on the other end now, though, because I'm actually getting shot by this Panther in the side of the turret. So I don't want to sit there getting shot in the side while having to deal with the guys in front of me. So I'm deciding, you know what? We're going to focus on this Panther. We're going to get rid of these guys, make sure that these guys can't shoot us anymore, and hopefully it'll be alright. We managed to shut down the Lerva, just hoping that that Panther drives out, but he's not at the minute, and we get another shot into the Vanguard, which I don't actually think we damaged him there. I think we just damaged his gun, which is unfortunate. But thank God the little pest gets shut down. I'm looking for more shots across here. We've got a shot into the CS-52 lease. We actually get that in, but we take one ourselves. Then we take another shot from the Panther that drives around. We snap the shot into his tracks, which is nice. It's not intended to track him. We're trying to just pen him. But the track helpful. And hopefully we'll be able to finish him off, because he's been a bit annoying. Can't quite find the shot. I'm trying to pull back and try and find an angle, but I can't quite do it. So we're going to pull back round and see if we can get some shots to these guys. We unfortunately ricochet off the ass of the Tiger P, which is unfortunate. But now we've caught this Type 59-2, and we're going to side scraping him. This is what I'm on about. We actually managed to absorb the shell into our tracks from the Type 59-2, and I'm quite confident that I could do it as long as I just keep side scraping him. I'll be able to ricochet the shot. He tracks us again. He can't pen us, like the way we're angled, and then he pulls back. So he's decided, you know what, I can't do anything against this guy. I'm just going to run away. I'm not going to let him do that. We're not going to let him do that around here. We're going to charge after him, boost the food, get the reloads as much as possible, and finish him off. But unfortunately, the first shell ends up going directly behind him. Our friend drives around, shoots him, which means we can finish him off. And now we're looking at this TD that is driving across there. I actually thought he was on the upper bit, which he wasn't. The E25 just zoomed past, so we didn't quite get the shot into him. We're going to poke out over here and see if we can get a look at this medium tank over there, the CS-52 Elites, which we can't. So we're going to try and get some shots into the E25. We snap a shot and only damage its tracks, which is unfortunate. We're going to go charging after it because he is hiding behind here. I am wary that the OHO is spotted at H7, so I've got to be a bit wary of that. I will probably need the premium rounds for him to guarantee a pen. I mean, with the pen RNG changes, probably not. Nowadays, it's more likely I will be able to just pen him with the standard rounds. But that OHO doesn't seem to be wanting to poke round, so it's like, okay, you know what? We will load back the AP and we'll go after this E25. Now, obviously, the E25 is a ridiculous rate of fire. He will be able to pen me a lot, and he'll also be able to just shoot me a lot generally, and it's not good. So, you know, I decide my team's coming around behind him. I'm just going to track him, and he gets finished off by my teammates. We're going to go for the finish on the OHO, but we can't quite do it, unfortunately. And there's just the artillery left, which tried to take a pop at us and didn't quite make it. And he'll be probably in the normal spot that artillery goes to at J1. I'll be surprised if it's anywhere else, because that's just where artillery goes. But yeah, I mean, the Atomic Centurion, you've just seen what it can do, generally. Now, obviously, these games weren't +2, but it's the same as a lot of tier 8s at +2. It, you know, it's not that great. But it does have the durability of the turret against tier 10s, where if you get hull down, you'll be just as good as a Centurion 7-1, for example. But we finished that game with 3 kills, 3-point-something K damage, ace tanker, steel wall, high caliber. It was 3.7k, 1800 XP assist, sorry. 2k base, a very nice game for the Atomic. It's a very good tank, and it's a very good credit earner. Very, very good, as you see with the 173,000 without boosters. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!